So this is articulation, storing, sharing, and transcripting. As I mentioned, I'm Janelle Brecky, Senior Academic Evaluation Specialist for Norco College, along with Sherry Elms, Director of Admissions and Records at Merced. Now, just to throw some more policy our way, I just referenced Title V. The student's academic record shall clearly be annotated to reflect the credit that was earned by assessment of prior learning, and also to reference ACC-JC. If credits are awarded, if awards are for credit, transcript entries should clearly describe what learning is being recognized and should be monitored to avoid giving credit twice for the same learning. So this has really been a key factor of having the evaluators involved on our campus to ensure that we're not duplicating credit and that we're not exceeding the 30 unit max for our district. This is the Norco College CPL approval process. So the recommendation or the course credit is initiated by me or the student. Right now we are utilizing a opt-in process for our military students that are interested in having their JST evaluated. So at that time, I will review the JST. I will look for any credit recommendations and send that to the Norco College faculty for review. We are a multi-college district, so if it is a shared course, then we need to have an approval by Riverside City College as well as Marina Valley College. As long as we have a majority of two out of the three, then we can move forward with that articulation. And that's just, because that's our curriculum process that we follow for having shared curriculum. Once it is approved or even denied by the faculty, we send those over to our articulation officer just to make sure that it is a valid articulation, that we're giving it for the correct unit amounts and they're on board with this credit recommendation. And at that time, that's when the student's academic record is updated with the approved credit. So Norco College utilizes the status in the stack screen to indicate prior learning paired with an appropriate reason code. So on my screen, you'll see this student was awarded credit for our ADJ6, which is our patrol procedures course, and we are indicating prior learning as the status type along with the reason as JST. And the field appears on the notation on our transcript. So I just listed the types of CPL that we post to our transcript. We do have different types depending on the method of assessment. So if they are earning credit by their JST, or if it is a portfolio review or industry credentials or assessment, we can make that notation so it's viewable on the transcript. And this is a sample of our transcript at Norco College. You can see we had given credit for ADJ6, MAG 51, MAG 44, and MAG 56. Those are the course-to-course articulations. And then the 2 for PE and 10 for general elective. So we still got the student close to the 30, not exceeding that amount, also trying to maximize the course credit recommendations that we were able to give, and also utilize any GE credit so that it could be applicable to their major. And I just wanted to bring up tests again. Utilizing tests as an open source, we do post our approved articulations to tests. So I've just listed some institutions that I know utilize tests also that we've looked at and try to wrap our mind around this database. But if you wanted to access any of these, it'd be helpful information, at least looking how to post those onto tests and how those articulations are stored. This is a view of how we enter the articulations into tests. So a limitation with tests, it groups all of the ACE versions into one. So you'll see, like in the notes section, I just want to approve certain skill levels, or if I wanted to approve a certain version, I would notate that in this field so it's viewable by other institutions. But you would be able to see the military occupation or the military course, along with the course offered at Norco College that we gave credit to. And I'll hand it over to Sherry.
Hi, everybody. So when we put together our credit for prior learning group, the thing that we wanted to see on our transcript was that all of the credit for prior learning was going to group together in one place on the transcript. It needed to be clear what kind of credit we were giving, all that. So we tried to use what we were already doing, because for a couple of reasons. One is sitting here with me, I wasn't sure she was going to get to come, but Sandy Gowdy is my IT other side in these projects, and she's a popular girl on campus, so getting time with her is not always easy. So we tried to use what we already were doing and just tweak some things to make what we wanted happen. So next slide. The first thing that we did was we wanted to make sure that credit for prior learning was the first thing that showed up on our transcript in the as it printed down. So we went to Riot and we created a 1986 C term and called it credit for prior learning. Everything that we enter then after that is assigned this term, and that's what puts it on our transcript together at the top of our transcript. And the description is the term description on the transcript. So it's very clear that all the stuff that's underneath there is going to be credit for prior learning. Next slide. So then we needed to create note codes because we needed to be able to tell what kind of credit for prior learning we were assigning. So we came up with these note codes, went in and entered and added these note codes to our list that we already had. And then in the transcript, Sandy went in and said, you know, these particular note codes are what I want to show on the transcript, so that we wouldn't get everything that we have in note codes on the transcript, because some of it is not something that needs to be transcripted. So these all will show on, get assigned and show on the transcript. Next slide. So when we do AP scores, I don't know how everybody does everything, but I want to show you what we do. We use T-sum to enter our AP score credit, okay, because we're giving credit, unit credit, right? Not a grade credit. We're giving unit credit for advanced placement. So we're going into T-sum. We're detailing in, that second screen is where we detail in under equivalency. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this already, but I wanted to show you. Next slide. And then in here on the top is where we're actually assigning the credit, and we're assigning the term. Yeah, I know, I'm pointing that she's showing. They can't see you pointing. But I'm a pointer, so I'm sorry. She give you remote control. So, and then this is where we assign the term. Okay. Then when we're done there, we exit out, we go to stack, we go into the underlying stack screen, into STNC, and we apply the note code. And down in the bottom half of the screen, we apply that note code as to whatever date we assigned this score. Next slide. Military credit, when I came here, it was already set up as a non-course. So we have military, and we only give right now 15 units of credit. We give area E 3 units, and we give area E2 2 units for PE, and we give elective credits of 10 units right now. And so as our credit for prior learning expands, we will have hopefully course-to-course articulation, which is the goal. But right now, this is how we award the military credit that we do give. It's a non-course. We go into the students non-coursework, we assign the area that we're going to give. Again, we're adding the term in there as we assign. Next slide. Then we go to stack, again, pull it up, and we're going to go in and assign our note code so that the transcript is going to have a note code on it. Next slide. Credit by exam, it goes directly into stack. We record that directly into stack. It is a course articulation. It is something that is graded. So it does have a grade or a pass, no pass, whatever the student decided. We enter that through stack, and then we go in again and put the note code that it's credit by exam and what day the exam was given, right? Next slide. So then here's what our transcript, and this is, it doesn't matter where it's unofficial or official, this is how it's going to look. The first item on the transcript is always, is going to be credit for prior learning. And you can see the top two courses are our credit by exam courses. The next one is our military credit that we assigned, unit value, and our AP scores that we gave unit value for. And so as other things appear, then underneath here would be like the regular terms and whatever courses they might have taken. But this is going to be the top line of what our transcript looks like. And that's pretty much what we did. We tried to keep it simple. Of course, as everyone, we were kind of in a time crunch to come up with something so that we could meet the deadlines that we were required to meet. So this is for now what we have come up with. And as we go forward, we're going to see, I hope, a lot more courses and military credit, true military credit being given for coursework.
So if anyone does have any questions, if you could drop your question into the chat. It looks like some users were not able to access Padlet, so I'm going to go ahead and try to go through these questions. And
somebody wanted to see the note codes again.
Okay, let me try to go back.
It's like the third slide in, I think. There. We had three. We allowed three digits, characters on the transcript. So this is we could have done, I guess,
I think
up to 5. I think we could have added up to. So those codes can be whatever makes sense for you. We tried to cover the things that we knew that at this moment that we might be awarding. And then as you go and you come up with others, you could, there might be others that you want to add, but I think this covers most of what was in all the credit for prior learning information that we got. Can you show where it indicates term that credit is received? Well, depending on where you're entering it, like on this screen, on the right side slide down toward the bottom information, it says equated degree applicable undergraduate, gives a date, and then that's then 1986C, that's my term. That's my credit for prior learning term.
Can you show, thank you, Sherry, can you show your transcript where it has CPL and the listing of all the CPL credit that you're giving right here? And then does it show the term on here?
No, it does not show a term on here.
It shows the description of the term.
The description of the term. Because we're not, even though as you enter it, you're assigning the 1986C term to it. So it'll all come up here in the top. in this term that we want. But each of them is assigned, is entered with the date that you're doing the entry. So we're not differentiating right now what term this happened in. We're just saying this is credit for prior learning that we assign to the student.
Okay, so it's showing all CPL that's being given to the specific student. Public facing, looking at a transcript, you cannot tell what term this credit was given.
No, no.
Okay. I'm wondering if that's going to be an issue for CSU, because I believe they wanted to see the term the CPL was given specifically.
No, this is Melissa. That would not, we just look at the transcript. We recognize that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to assign a term. So that should not be an issue.
Non-issue.
I think it's an issue for the UC. The UC specifically said credit by examination. They want to see it by term in order to receive credit.
Okay.
And for Norco College or for the Riverside Community College District, we also do not post a term. For that reason, we just keep it, posted at the top. So it sits on the transcript on the top where we post our AP credit that they would receive. So no term is assigned.
I think if it wasn't the right term.
Yeah, I in nothing that I was aware of was it going to be an issue to not show the term. So, I would assume that we would have to maybe follow up then for the student with whatever university that has that question as to when that credit was actually assigned to the student. We would know that, but we're not actually indicating that right now on the transcript.
Thank you.
I do have a request to show Norco College's test, so I can go ahead and do that. Just give me 1 second.
Norco College, they posted this as a certificate.
Okay, can everyone see? Yes. Okay, so this is our test public view. We also do have other institutions that we've posted credit for, just for, for students or for counselors if they want to reference this. But in the American Council on Education is where we have all of our articulations posted. So anything that has gone through the approval process through the evaluators to being approved at Riverside or Moreno Valley. And if it's, in that case, if it's a shared course, or if it's just offered at Norco College, then it still follows a similar process, but is not sent throughout the district. But it still goes through, our articulation officer before it is posted to tests. So all of these articulations have gone through the entire approval process. And as I mentioned, some limitations with, showing the specific version that I've noticed. So I just try to post those in the notes so that institutions or students that are referencing this can see what skill levels were approved or possibly what version of that course or that occupation was approved. Is there any questions in regards to this view?
Hello,
Janelle, I had a question.
Sure.
For your test, are you equating them yearly? Because they post your catalog and course descriptions on a year-to-year basis, or are you gonna just keep that one equivalency for that one time?
We haven't got that far. I know when we were creating the articulations, we did use the 2020 catalog, although it is going to be a discussion that we have as to moving forward, how we keep those articulations current. I think when we spoke with Tess, they did say there was an option to kind of like query Tess and see if your courses have changed. So that might be something that we're looking into. But for right now, we're just utilizing the 2020 catalog when we created these entries and seeing how that works for us.
I had a similar question, but it's more so about the articulation validity or articulation expiration date. How do you determine the time frame that the articulation is valid?
So all of these courses or the occupations do have a year like time limit on them. So this would be like the exhibit date shown. So from 10/02 to 4/14, that is what we would use to enter as like a beginning date and an end date. So not necessarily that it is no longer valid. I think ACE mentioned that they do re-review these these recommendations every 10 years. So hopefully we'll figure it out by then. But we do use these exhibit dates when we're entering a beginning and end date, just so we have that information on hand.
And if there's not an end date to the exhibit, it's like the current exhibit, then you just don't put an end date on the expiration of the articulation?
Correct. So there, I think I have an example. There should be some here that are, so this one does not have an end date because it has that 2013 date, so it's still present. So it will be something we'll have to, figure out what that process looks like once these occupations or these courses are end dated, having to go back in and update these articulations. So work in progress, we're learning too. I'm gonna try to go through the chat and see. Okay, so there's a question: what happens if a student submits a JST to one college and gets equivalent articulated credits for one course, but then submits to a different community college when that faculty determines the courses for a different course? Okay, so in our situation, we do have a shared curriculum at the Riverside Community College District. We have had situations that a faculty member at Norcal College recommends a certain course, and then the course is sent to Riverside City College for review, and the faculty want to articulate that recommendation with a different course. Now, at that time, it's been our practice that the faculty will come to a resolution amongst themselves before anything is posted. So we haven't ran into a situation in which we have to like back out credit or necessarily units being awarded twice. We do pretty good about our vetting process to ensuring that the credit is only posted once it's been approved by the faculty that are needed. And there has been situations that a student maybe doesn't opt in to have their JST evaluated right in the beginning. So maybe we award let's say 15 units of elective credit, and then at that time they do want to have their JST evaluated. That would be a situation where if they were going to exceed the 30 units, then we would, maybe reduce their elective unit so that they can get the actual course credit instead. So
Okay,
that
I just unmuted myself, and I'm really sorry to do that, but
no.
I understand what you're saying, that if,
Mhm.
how are you going to know that your student came to my district, submitted his JST, now my student is getting a different course, and your transcript's going to SDSU, my transcript's going to SDSU. He has 3 units from his JST, and he's getting 6 units applicable. How are we avoiding that? And I'm muting myself back out now, sorry.
No problem. I think that's going to be something that we have to discuss. I mean, if it's going to be an issue where students are, attending multiple colleges and they're receiving, let's say, the 30 units max, how that happens. So we haven't ran into that. That is a good point, but something I'll keep in mind.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a something you can avoid. because we aren't connected enough to control that. So it would be, I think, probably at the CSU that they're gonna weed through that and decide what they're gonna take and what they're not.
It's just like first-time students. When you're in an area that has so many community colleges around each other, the student registers at each college for some classes as a first-time student. Is the state paying us for the first-time student, or is the state paying you for the first-time student? And we don't know. We just report what we know.
And I think that's kind of where, the faculty, like, yes, they might have a duplication of credit posted to their transcript, but at the end of the day, if they see, intro to psychology on Norco's transcript versus intro to psychology on Merced's, then, they're going to take that into consideration, I'm assuming. And please, if you haven't done so, please post your test link to the chat so that we can save those and create a nice little database of institutions that post their articulations to tests. Is there anything we didn't?
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
go
there
ahead.
was a question up in here about, is all credit for prior learning pass, no pass? No, like credit by exam, you can choose whether you want to take it pass, no pass, or you want the letter grade. So at least at Merced College, that's the option. You could see either pass, no pass, or a letter grade.
And for Riverside Community College District, we are posting these as a credit to the transcript.
There was another question about how do you determine what grade is given to the student if the course is approved? And that goes to the faculty side of the credit for prior learning, the applying for credit for prior learning and all of that part of it. For me, I'm getting the end result and making sure that gets into the student's record. So that's more on the faculty side, and in their review, they're creating rubrics and stuff as to how they're going to evaluate something. And then they're also going to assign grades if grades are applicable for that.
If no one has any other burning questions, we can probably go to break a little bit early. The next session is to begin at 11:20. So feel free to go ahead now if you don't have any more questions, and you can exit the room. Thank you guys for
I have a
attending.
question, Jamal.
Yeah, sure.
Can you go into your test and show us how you entered the equivalency,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
Yeah, let me find one to enter. Let's see. Okay, so I just start out how we, search institutions through tests. And it will bring up American Council on Education. As I mentioned, we are utilizing the 2020 catalog for now. I would enter the course or the occupation just in the course code. I felt like that has been the easiest way for me to trying to locate the content that I'm looking for. So you do a quick search and it will bring up that course for each data set. So as I mentioned, we're just using the 2020 catalog, and I bring up that side-by-side view. And that is when I can do an EQ search on the right-hand side to make our course match. So if I wanted to create an articulation with just this ALR reading tutor training, I can have those side-by-side view available, and I would do this EQ add. And it would bring up the side-by-side view again. And I would just preview, and this is where I enter any notes that I have, or like these exhibit dates that we mentioned, beginning and end date, although I'm not sure if that is valid for the purposes that we're used to of the course, beginning dates and end dates. Although I just felt like it would be helpful to just have those exhibit dates listed so that it does show when that course or when that occupation was ended and dated. And in this public note, this is where I enter what versions of that course or that occupation were approved, and also the ranks that were approved. And then it is available on our tests.
Do you use the test workflow to send the articulation request to the faculty through the evaluation tasks?
I do not use the test workflow. We utilize MAP, so their military articulation platform, to have some of our faculty approve the articulations. If not through MAP, then we utilize just the old school way that we're all used to, a paper form, and I send that to faculty for their approval, and then I do update that into MAP, where our articulation officers can approve or deny that articulation. So it just kind of depends on the faculty that I'm working with, what method I use, whether it be utilizing the platform or utilizing a form through email.
On your CPL approval process, on the second stage, you send it to Norco College faculty to review it. Can you just get the department chair to review it and approve it? Or does it need to be that specific discipline?
So we do have our department chairs approving unless it is assigned to a subject matter expert. So if it's not the department chair that can answer or make a decision, then they will take it amongst themselves to forward it to whoever need be that can make that decision. And I will go ahead and post the link to Norco College's test in case anyone wants to view it. And if there are no further questions, thank you for attending our session of 301 Transcripting.